Welcome back to another video on the YZ85 Supermoto project. I'm super excited, guys. I got a bunch of different parts in. I got a bunch of different things, so we're going to get going and continue this build today. Alright, first things first, here's the old frame that doesn't have the title, and I don't want to deal with that one anymore, but this one is my street legal frame that I have a plate for already. So I just got it sanded down, but I still have to paint it. I'm going to prime it and paint it. But today we're going to be mocking up, I'm going to be installing the swing arm bearings into my swing arm, putting the engine into the frame, putting the swing arm on, and then also going to be putting the swing arm bolt through here. So then, because the next thing I'm going to do today is to line up the front forks and to put the rear wheel on to make sure I can make the spacing right. So today I'm going to be making the spacers. I got some shiny nice parts here. I just sprayed them with some paint. It's not the best. It's definitely not powder coated and not super durable paint, but I just wanted to make some little extra effort just to, I don't know, make some parts that'll look semi-nice for now. If they start chipping and whatever later down the road, once I'm riding around, I'll take them off and eventually get them powder coated or something like that. But I have a bunch of different parts here, part of the linkage for the swing arm or for the suspension in the rear. I just painted the foot pegs here, got some springs, got the bolts for that. This is like the brake, I think it's the brake holder, front brake line holder. But I'm excited to show you guys the new parts that I got. So this is part of it. So this is the old Scott grips that are on here. I painted this as well, but I was able to I'm excited to try these new, I got some EMIG throttle grips. So these are the V2 lock-on grip system. So what it actually has is a lock-on, like a lock collar right here with an Allen key. So both no glue and no wire tie or anything like that is involved. So you just lock it on with an Allen key on the left side on the clutch side and then also on the throttle tube. But it came with a few different options for the throttle tube that you can snap on to get onto the throttle cable. This is the 4-stroke one, this is the 2-stroke one, but the kit didn't come with it, the right one I needed for the YZ85, so I had to actually buy this extra. But this is the correct throttle tube for the throttle cable, and it's just extra and just says Yamaha 2-stroke 85cc. So this is an extra one. If you go and get these from EMIG, you are probably going to have to buy the extra, for the YZ85 anyway, you're going to have to buy the extra piece for the throttle cable. Just keep that in mind, because if you get this just in the mail, you'd be like, well, none of this works, they don't fit, whatever. So you do have to buy an extra one. It just snaps on. I'm going to be putting carbon fiber, this is just some like 3M type carbon fiber wrap that I'm going to be putting on the forks, so that's going to be super cool. What else? I got a mud flap, so I didn't come with one on the bike, so I'm going to be putting that on. This is the throttle cable that came with it, and I was running it the other day in my previous video, and it didn't seem like anything was wrong, but I was taking the carburetor apart just to check everything out, and as you can see here, you can barely see it, but that is what's left of the throttle cable. So when I was running the bike the other day, it was on like 2 threads left of the throttle cable. So I got a new throttle cable here. I'll be hooking that up as well. Just some random parts that I want to show here. This is the Tusk pressure switch. I'm going to be using this for when I do my lighting system. So this is going to be the front brake pressure switch for my lighting system. I got a whole bag of new, just some new plated, like zinc plated bolts just for the outside for the fairings and whatnot, or the plastics when I put them on, to make it look a little bit nicer. I found these heat shrink connectors the other day on Amazon. So they're about like $12 or so, something like that, I think. But cool thing about these is that you just put the wires in there, and then it has some solder in there that already in the center with heat shrink tubing on either side. So all you do is use a heat gun and heat both sides of it as you're going, and it'll shrink the solder around it. So you just twist the two wires together, put them in here, slide this on first, twist the 2 wires together, put this on there, and it'll heat up and shrink around the tubing. So I'm excited to try those out when I get to my wiring harness for it. And then I got these online pretty cheap, just some 3.5-inch LED strips that I'm going to be putting on the rear. I'm planning on putting them vertically, kind of like a pause symbol on my rear, inside my rear fender. So we'll get to that when I get to it, but got the swing arm bearings, going to be installing them in here because I need the swing arm bearings in there before I can put in the bolt, just because it's a bigger diameter here and I need to make sure everything fits up correctly, because then I can get the rear wheel on and get everything set up for aligning the chain and the sprocket and the brake rotor. And then as the other day, I was trying to get the rear, the sprocket, or the countershaft sprocket, off of here. I had to heat things up and get it off here because it was seized on the engine here. And so I ended up not melting the seal here, but I needed to buy a new seal. So I had to buy a whole new seal kit just because I didn't want to just buy one. So I got like the one for the countershaft, and then also I'm going to be replacing the shift shaft seal as well, just because it probably needs it anyways. But as of right now, the engine is good to go. I can't think. I do need to. I also got a kit for the clutch side. So this is the clutch gasket and a new water pump seals. So I'm going to be putting those as well, just to tighten things up, make sure everything's good to go for when I install the engine, so I'm not leaking oil everywhere. Here's the rear rotor that I got. As you can see here, this distance is not very much. It's probably barely 5/8 of an inch, or not 3/4, 5/8, between half and 5/8. And the rear pads are much larger. You can see the distance here, so it's not even going to be touching the full thing, but that's going to be, I'm going to be able to look at that once I mock everything up, but shouldn't be a problem. It's just not going to be fully rubbing on the full brake pad. As you can see, it's only going to be rubbing up until about here, but as the wheel is spinning, it's going to rub this anyway, so the pads should wear evenly, although my rear braking is not going to be ideal because it's only gripping on this little surface versus the full surface of this pad. Guys, I was so excited the other day when these rotors came in, because I've been waiting for them forever, that I just put them on. I was off camera. I just wanted to put it together to mock it up to see how it looks, how it fit, and I didn't have to do any machining on this Chinese hub. So this front wheel with the Chinese hub, I didn't have to do any machining like I did on here. I just wanted to try it out first to bolt it up to see what happens, and lo and behold, it's so close to being perfect. I'm either gonna have to put a spacer right here to bump my caliper over farther in, because right now my wheel alignment for my front wheel is barely to the right on the screen. As you're looking at it right now, it's barely shifted to the right. So I bolted everything up, just wanted to mock it up and everything. So I put these bolt heads clear the caliper. This is a 220 millimeter front disc. I know it's small. I know Supermotos normally have a 320 or so. I might do that in the future if I can find something with this bolt pattern here, but I don't have a bracket. I can manufacture a relocator bracket later on for the caliper, but for now, I'm just gonna run it on the stock size with these wheels. I am running into some rub on these wheels. So these tires, I mean, are 120 millimeters wide, and right now I'm rubbing into this plastic piece, so it does not touch the forks, which is awesome. It does not touch the forks when I compress the suspension. It does not touch the forks, but it touches these plastic things. So I might either grind some of these away or even get rid of them altogether, because all it does is support the front fork guard. So the front fork guard gets bolted right here, goes up over the shaft here of the front suspension, and then it just hits against, it just like kind of sits in here, just so if any rocks and debris hit it, it won't keep slapping into the fork. So I might just get rid of them and I don't know what's going to happen if the air, while I'm riding, if the air pushes it against, I don't know, we'll see. In order to prevent having to shave some of this off, because it's already thin there, but the tires are just barely rubbing. So we'll have to adjust it, and I'm going to make my wheel spacer soon here, because the stock wheel spacer on the YZ85 does not fit. See, this is the stock wheel spacer, and I need to manufacture one that touches both sides, so it's going to be a little bit wider than the stock YZ85. Before I make all the spacer and stuff, I want to put the rear wheel on to make sure that my trail is correct, so my front wheel is in line, or at least close to my rear wheel, so I have to mock that up. Alright, so I got the parts fish here, and I'm going to be following along with this, and I'm going to be putting everything in. So bushing, oil seal collar, oil seal bushing, got some bearings, another oil seal, and then over here I got a bearing, oil seal, and collar. So I found this on Bike Bandit. You can just go online and print this off. Pretty much any bike you can go to and just print off the parts fiche, and it's very helpful for when you're installing pieces. Alright, so I'm getting a bit of chain rub as I'm trying to line up the front sprocket with the rear wheel. So what's happening here is when the chain lines up with the front sprocket, it's rubbing against the outer rim of the tire here. So what I'm actually doing is trimming with a knife here some of this outer edge. So just barely taking off, making it look nice, but barely taking off some of the outer edge because I know it's going to rub when I have the chain going. So just some of this outer edge I'm just going to clean up with a razor, very sharp razor blade, and so far it's turning out pretty well. This is what I have so far. Still got to make spacers for right here for the front wheel, and also on this side as well. I need a spacer for in between here to make sure the tire is centered. I'm having some rub still here. I'm probably going to trim some of this tire like I did back here with my razor blade. I took some of the edge of this off with a razor blade just because I'm going to get chain rub. But other than that, so far it's mocked up, and there she is so far. So I'm excited to see what it'll look like, and hopefully next few weeks I'll be able to get her up and running, at least test run. But for now, just keep watching and let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and contact me if you want any pointers or give me any pointers and whatnot. But thanks for watching, and follow along with the build. It's gonna be a fun one. Peace.